Here's my review of episode 3 of APB. I found this episode to be quite enjoyable and thought that it had a nice balance between humor and drama. I found the humor in this episode to be quite entertaining. I enjoyed seeing Gideon constantly make wisecracks throughout this episode. Upon watching Gideon in this episode, I had the impression that he was an even bigger smartass than he was compared to the previous two episodes. I believe this to be the case, as in this episode there really wasn't anything too dramatic that affected Gideon emotionally compared to the two earlier episodes. In the first episode, his friend is murdered, and in the second he witnesses a child getting injured by a fleeing criminal. In this episode, Theresa's former mentor gets killed. Although this event affects Gideon somewhat, it really doesn't affect him as much compared to the incidents in the first two episodes. That being the case, it seems to appear that the writer or writers who wrote for this episode gave Gideon more room to be funny compared to the previous episodes. At least that was the impression I got. The dramatic side of the episode can be seen coming mainly from Theresa. In this episode, her former mentor gets murdered and her character plays a pivotal role in the episode's story. We also get to see more backstory on Theresa as well as more dialogue from her in this episode, which I thought was good. One thing that surprised me in this episode was the writing they had for Ada. In the first two episodes, Ada didn't really play much of a role in the show and gave the impression that she was just a minor character. In this episode, Ada plays a bigger role and is given character development and backstory similar to the level of a main character. I found the writing for her in this episode to be a good addition to the show and would be open for more development of her character in future episodes. The ending to this episode sort of followed the formula to the endings of the previous two episodes, creating an ending that would play out in the next episode or future episodes. I didn't feel the ending in this episode had a big enough impact compared to the previous endings of the first two episodes, and was given the impression that Gideon discovering what Ada did with the bomb wasn't going to happen anytime soon. At least that was the impression I got from watching the ending. I found the best part of this episode to be the technology that Gideon creates for this episode. A chair that can sense levels of stress from the person sitting in it. I thought this idea stood out from the technology developed by Gideon in the previous two episodes because it appeared truly revolutionary. Using drones is pretty common in today's age, and using motorbikes to chase after fleeing criminals in areas where a normal squad car would cause harm isn't very innovative. However, I found creating a high-tech version of a polygraph to interrogate suspects to be innovative, at least to me. I don't really have much else to say except that I enjoyed this episode a lot. I thought this was better than the second episode, and I am still eager to see more episodes in the future.